What do these three things have in common? Pumpkin icebox cake, golden pumpkin bread, and pumpkin bread pudding? The pumpkin, of course. You want to see those recipes and check out how delicious they look? Watch right here. If you're looking for a great make-ahead dessert, you've come to the right place. Today, I'm making a fantastic pumpkin mousse pie that can be made completely ahead of time so that you have plenty of room in your oven day of the event to do all kinds of other stuff, like, say, roast a turkey. I have 30 chocolate wafers that I've just added to my food processor, and I'm just gonna grind them up to fine crumbs. I'm making my crust. Looks good, I think, yes. Then add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And then with the machine running, add 5 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. That's your crust. Couldn't be easier, right? All you need to do is press it into a 9-inch pie plate. Press all the crumbs into the bottom and up the sides of a 9-inch pie plate. First, I like to sort of spread it out, get it semi-even, and then the packing can be done with your measuring cup. Nice and firm so that it actually bakes into a crust instead of crumbling apart. That's your crust. Bake at 325 until set and firm, 10 to 12 minutes. When you remove your crust from the oven, let it cool, and then you can make your filling. I have 1.5 cups of pumpkin puree. Canned is perfectly acceptable and maybe even preferable, just for ease. 4 ounces of cream cheese. Cream cheese is really helpful in these kinds of recipes, not just for flavor, but also for stabilizing. It helps the pie set in the refrigerator. 1/2 cup of packed dark brown sugar. And 1/4 teaspoon each cinnamon and nutmeg. Nice and spicy. It smells really fantastic in here. Blend everything together. I have 1/2 cup of pure maple syrup. I have 1 cup of heavy cream. It's basically whipped. I'm just gonna make it a little stiffer. Add your pumpkin mixture to the whipped cream. I suppose that you could fold the whipped cream into the pumpkin mixture, but I am saving bowls. Make sure you get all of the pumpkin. You want all that deliciousness. This is what it's all about. Fold the two together. Foldy, foldy, foldy. Cooled crust. Pour it in, and then you just put it in the refrigerator. Right? Let it sit. Overnight, preferably. This needs to set for at least 3 hours, but it's completely fantastic if you let it set overnight, and that's what I'm gonna do. Time to serve. All you need to do is top with some whipped cream. Yes, it's gilding the lily. That's the way I like it. You know that. Would you like some whipped cream on top of your whipped cream? 'Tis the season for pumpkin, and I'm gonna be using it in a fantastic quick bread today. It's a pumpkin ginger loaf, and the best thing about this recipe, it makes 2. I have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour here. To that, add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of coarse salt. If you're using fine, be sure to use 1/2 teaspoon. Whisk, whisk, whisk. Set aside your dry ingredients for a second. This bowl has 1 cup of brown sugar and 1 cup of white sugar. To that, add 12 tablespoons of melted butter, 1.5 sticks. Quick breads are great because people love them. They're easy to throw together and they last for a while. 1 can of pumpkin. This is pumpkin puree that you buy. You could certainly use your own if you wanted to make fresh pumpkin puree. Add 3 large eggs. I think you can add them all at once. Let's see what happens. And stir. You can add your dry ingredients to the wet. I'm gonna add my wet to the dry because my dry bowl is bigger. Stir until it's fully smooth. Have your oven preheating to 375 degrees. These are 2 8.5 by 4.5 inch pans that have been buttered and floured. Sometimes if I'm being really crazy and I wanna make sure it's completely even, I'll weigh them on my scale, but I think eyeballing it is probably fine. Tap them just to make sure they're nice and even, and bake them until a cake tester inserted in the center comes out clean, about 50 minutes. Let them cool completely in their pans on a wire rack. You can put a glaze on this, but I really don't feel like it's necessary. But if you want to make a nice sugar glaze to go on top, it is kind of beautiful. Smells gingery. Tastes like fall. Have you ever made dulce de leche? It takes a really long time, but guess what? They make dulce de leche, and it's so great on desserts. Today, I'm making a pumpkin bread pudding drizzled with dulce de leche. What do you think about that? And I'm using store-bought, so it's so easy. The first thing that I'm doing, just to start off, is cutting up about 10 ounces of day-old bread into half-inch cubes. Even the ends, that's totally fine. I like the way that it gives a little bit of extra texture. And then you're gonna bake this in a 2-quart baking dish. I just wanna butter it so nothing sticks in. Also, butter adds so much flavor. So I just like to keep a little bowl of soft butter on hand for whenever I need to butter something. And then transfer your bread cubes to the dish. And then the custard's really easy. We're basically 3/4 of the way there. Take a big bowl. 1 can of pumpkin puree. Make sure it's the pure pumpkin puree, not the pumpkin pie filling, because that's already seasoned. And of course, if you want to make your own pumpkin puree, be my guest. To that, add 2 eggs. I have 1 cup of whole milk here, and to that, I'm adding ½ a cup of heavy cream, just a little richness. And then a 1/4 cup of light brown sugar. It's only lightly sweetened, but remember at the end you're gonna add some dulce de leche as a drizzle on the top. Now for the seasoning. ½ a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. ½ teaspoon of anise seeds. Have you ever used anise seeds? They're kind of a licoricey flavor, sort of like fennel seeds, I guess, but sweeter. You wanna chop them up a little bit, so be careful because they're gonna fly all over your board. And ½ a teaspoon, of course, salt. And then 3/4 of a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Whisk it to combine. Everything just needs to get nice and smooth. The eggs need to mix in there because that's what's going to set your custard while it's baking. Make sure you have your oven preheating to 350 degrees. And then just pour your custard right over the bread cubes and you're ready to go. Just press down those bread cubes to make sure they're submerged, or shake it back and forth to let all the custard seep into the bread. And then the last thing that you need, ½ a cup of pecans, just coarsely chopped. Sprinkle that over the top evenly, and then into a 350-degree oven till it's set in the center, about 45 minutes. Now all you have to do is wait. You know what I'm saying? I think it's done. Let's check. Oh, got a little bit golden on top, which is really nice. Got a little bit of crunchiness. You know, I said to push them all in, but if you want to get a little crunchiness on top, don't push them all completely and leave a few sticking out. Let this sit just a few minutes and heat up your cup of dulce de leche, and like I said, I'm using store-bought. It's already smoothing out. See how it's pourable? It's done. I'm ready to try it. Are you ready to try it? It's pumpkin-y, it's caramelly, it's nutty. So good.